tell you, I had a moment that told me I was in my mid-30s this Saturday. I wake up, and my first thought, I can't wait to get a cup of coffee, an iced coffee, of course. It's South Carolina, it's so hot, and to go to Home Depot. It was so exciting and fun. I got a bunch of lawn stuff. Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 27 of That Gives Me Anxiety. I'm Patrick Jones. After my rendezvous at Home Depot, I finally found a butcher, a good butcher down here. Oh my gosh. And I talked to the owner while purchasing a ribeye, giddy up, about the best oils to use in a cast iron pan. You want a high smoke level, you know? Don't be afraid of that smoke. So basically, without ever having kids, I've become a dad. I keep checking for World War II DVDs. Because apparently that's the way I'm headed. But yeah, the butcher just gets so much better cuts than the grocery store. Put a little Kansas City rub on there. Grapeseed oil. Grapeseed oil is the way to go. That's what I cooked it in the cast iron. A little bit of butter. A little bit of garlic in there. And life is good. I mean, coffee, Home Depot, butcher shop. Worked on the lawn all day. Had a couple beers and had a giant steak. What more could you ask for? Becoming like those progressive commercials where people are becoming more like their parents. Anyway, I've got a great episode lined up for you today. In it, I interviewed Sarah Malone about PMDD, something I didn't know anything about prior to Sarah reaching out to me. PMDD stands for Premenstrual Dysphoric Disorder, and Johns Hopkins University describes it as a more severe form of premenstrual syndrome, so PMS. Apparently it's pretty common. There are more than 3 million women who have this per year. And as you'll hear, it could be a tricky thing to diagnose, and it's got to be extremely frustrating and so draining to go through this. But Sarah's got a great attitude, and she's really funny, and the Scottish always are, right? Little sassiness, a lot of cursing. Yeah, they're always a good time. I don't think I've ever met a Scottish person I haven't liked. And we also talk about energy healing, which is something that Sarah works on with people. So if you're interested in that, you're going to learn a little bit about that as well. And if you are interested, you can always reach out to Sarah and give that a shot. So before we get to PMDD and energy healing, I want to remind you that if you're liking the show, to please remember to rate and review it. You can check the show out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. If you're liking the show and you want to support it and support me, there's the Buy Me a Coffee link. Buy Me a Coffee, if you don't know, is a place to make donations to creatives or whatever job I guess that sets one up. And yeah, you can donate whatever amount you feel comfortable with, and that would be very much appreciated. Well, all right, let's head towards the interview. Thank you so much to Sarah. And thank you to you for listening. And thank you to all the butcher shops out there, huh? We love you. Joining me now all the way from Scotland is Sarah Malone. Sarah, thank you so much for being here.
You are so welcome, Patrick.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you. We have a few different things. I love how, to give the listeners context, before we were just like going back and forth, trading curses, and then we go to the intro and Sarah's like, "You are so welcome."
Telephone voice. It's that politeness, isn't it? You've got to start off as you mean to go on, because honestly, that's all you get. After that, that's it. It all goes downhill from here. But at least if we start off on the right foot, we started somewhere.
That's true. I always introduce myself as Patrick, but the second I know someone, it's like, no, call me Pat. It just let's just. I don't know why I come out with such formality, and then I intend to drop it immediately. So I don't know. I don't know why I force myself to try to come off as formal.
You don't have to be formal. You could still say you're Patrick. You know.
Yeah.
I instantly think of Patrick as the starfish off of SpongeBob SquarePants, and he's pretty cool. So I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form that's the physical similarities. It's just the name reminds me of.
It's okay. I'm a pink fat blob of a starfish. I am American after all. Well, we're going to talk about a few things today. One of them is PMDD, which would be great if you can explain for the viewers what that is and what that means.
Okay, so PMDD is the full formal name is premenstrual dysphoric dysfunction or premenstrual dysphoric disorder, depending on what the language is that's used from the medical professions. But what it is kind of based on in layman's terms is a severe diagnosis of PMS. And when I say severe and put PMS together, people automatically go, oh, okay, they're just having a crappy day because they're on their period. No, like severe PMS to the point that you can't get out your bed or you have suicidal thoughts. Apologies if this is a trigger, because some of these things that I may talk about may actually cause these triggers, especially with women that have PMDD or men that live with women that have PMDD. You know, and it's a shame that the clinical terminology used of it is severe PMS, because it couldn't be further from the truth. If it was just a case of PMS, I think a lot of women would be kind of like, is that all I've got to deal with? PMDD really has a whole other realm of complications and really impossibilities that we as women have to unfortunately suffer and overcome. A lot of the time without the support or without the backup of being able to go anywhere and have a proper diagnosis or even proper support from the medical profession. It's just really sad.
Yeah.
PMDD has only really been regulated as a significant, or actually been approved by a medical profession as a recognised disability, I think for about 7 or 8 years. So, you know, it's not even something that's been around for a long time. And I think it's a lot like when we look at like neurodiversity and things like that, for me personally, in my opinion, it falls more under that category as opposed to it being mental health, which it does at the moment. It's a hormonal dysfunction that causes mental issues. But for me, something that happens regularly, like depression, like anxiety, these sort of things, there's still that imbalance. And I think that when it comes to PMS or PMDD, the dysfunction that actually happens doesn't just happen mentally. It happens within your whole body, your hormones and your nutrition, your physical, everything changes. I've had people in the past that I mentor people that want to go down more a holistic view of it as opposed to going down the medical route. And one of the biggest symptoms that I've noticed is people physically change when they're getting PMDD. You don't get severe PMS in it, you know, or get PMS and you physically change. But these people, you can take photos side by side when they're going through PMDD and when they're not, and you can see the significant difference in who they are. And I'm not just talking, oh, they look like they've got duller skin, like they're bloated, their face is distorted. You can see there's something really sinister going on there. And then when they're out of it, it's like they're bright and cheery and like, I don't even know what you're talking about. What happened last week? No, that didn't happen. You know, it's unbelievable. So yeah, PMDD.
Yeah, wow, that sounds awful. I'm so sorry that you and other people have to go through that. I guess my first question related to that is, could you give me, I mean, and this is only related to you and the people that you work with, a kind of baseline from like what PMS is like compared to PMDD? Is there some comparison? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, PMS, I mean, the things that they've got in common is they happen typically, it's only just been, I think, recently in the last few years that doctors have now started to recognize that sometimes PMDD can actually happen during ovulation as well as through your menstruation. And put in a context, women have 4 different weeks typically of 4 different cycles: the luteal, this ovulation, the follicle, and then the menstruation in terms of in a 4-week sort of cycle. And when it comes to sticking to the menstruation side, PMS and PMDD roughly happen about the same sort of time. A day or 2 before your menstruation or your period actually happens, things change. That's about as far as it goes in common. You know, PMS, you would maybe feel that you have bloating, a little bit of cramping, you maybe feel a little bit under the weather, you might even have brain fog or feel just a little bit generally unwell, that feelings that you get just before a kind of cold where you just feel a little bit bunged up and you're not very clear on the way you're going forward with things. You can't get things done, you don't have the motivation, and you procrastinate quite a lot. With PMDD, you become a werewolf. Like unfortunately in this house, that is what we've classed it as. My condition is called werewolf week. And although it doesn't last a week, it can. And that's the mind-boggling thing about PMDD. You can have a month where you don't have any symptoms at all, and you're thinking, oh my God, like this is it. Like I've overcome it. I've got the right keys, and I've got the right routines and rituals and habits and health and nutrition and everything put in place. And then the next week it can hit you like a steam train, and you've no idea what you've done wrong from the last month that's caused this. And it's not. But PMDD, you can have the sort of emotional side effects where you can be really angry, a trigger warning, you can feel suicidal, you can have really sinister thoughts and processes that it clouds your judgment to the point of you can't see past that thoughts, because that thoughts and that feelings are so loud that is all you can feel. For me, when I was first diagnosed, I become very, very insecure. I'm in a very secure relationship. I've got no doubt that my partner loves me unconditionally. But in that moment, I would always go through the same process with him where I'd be messaging him going, where are you? What are you doing? I knew he was at work. My subconscious knew he was at work. He's grafting his backside off, earning a wage, busying himself, and he's straight home. But within that process, I'm like, he's cheating on me. He's going out and meeting women at lunchtime. He's doing that. It was so completely irrational. But because it was so loud, my brain was like, this is really happening. Other women can kind of have mental breakdowns in terms of they don't actually understand what they're supposed to be doing on a daily basis. You just find that so impossible from their daily routines of getting up, having a wash, getting showered, getting ready for work. They physically can't do that because their brain just automatically, or not automatically, but it like shuts down. So people can't recognize what they're meant to be doing. The more physical side of things, I'm talking pain to the point that you physically can't get out of bed because the pain is so bad. It's like somebody stabbed you, or somebody's literally gone at you with a knife, or somebody is literally beating you from head to toe and you physically can't move because the aches and the pains that you feel, it's like you've been hit by a car. You can have bloating, you can have fatigue to the point that you can't even get up, or you can't even stay awake for more than an hour or two before your eyes are closing and you just physically feel drained. Symptoms for women, they're so vast. And I think this is why medical professions have such a difficult time trying to diagnose it, because from month to month, a woman can go through a whole plethora of symptoms one month, and then go through a whole other plethora of symptoms the next month. And the only real trend that people need to recognize is that it's happening monthly, and that it's happening round about the time that they are menstruating, or like I said, now there's possibilities that they're saying that it could happen around ovulation. But to be able to pinpoint and go, well, typically you would have this, and this, it doesn't happen. It doesn't work. I've met people that, luckily for me, I don't have as a severe case as what I did once before. I've heard people that have literally been like, I'm done. Life is done. I am done with this. This is just not worth it. I do not want to be here anymore. I've had people that have come to me and been like, you know what, like I literally can't move, because as soon as I move my fingers, I feel like I am on fire. The symptoms are crazy. And to be able to condense them into basic ones is just, you wouldn't be able to, because if you gathered 20 women with PMDD and told them to write down their symptoms for the past 3 months, you would have pages and pages and pages, and you'd be lucky if maybe 4 or 5 of them were a common denominator across them.
Oh my goodness gracious, I'm so sorry. I mean, that was like those commercials for drugs where it's just like it may cause like all the just listed so many awful, terrible things. I'm so sorry. That sounds.
You know what, Pat? You don't even need to apologize though. Women are resilient. A side note to make things a little bit lighter, because for me, I don't like to kind of stay deep for long, because it drags your energy down, and that's why a lot of the stuff I do, I focus on kind of the positive sides of things. But I heard a really great saying by, I think it's a woman called Betty White. She used to be on the Golden Girls, which was like a program that we had in the UK on Channel 4.
If you think I don't know who Betty White is, she's an American treasure. We do unfortunately just lost her, but yes, I'm excited to hear the quote.
She turned around and she said that people often are told to man up in difficult situations. And she says, they are also turned around and told to grow a pair of balls. She says, but for me, balls are hairy and sensitive. She says, but a vagina, now that can take some pounding. So for me, us women, we take some pounding, whether it's emotionally, physically, mentally, we do it all. I literally, the women that I meet and that I mentor, I am blown away by their strength and their commitment to showing up every month and going, right, okay, I'm ready. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how I'm going to face it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to face it, but I'm here. I think ultimately for a lot of women, it's a fight. And for their families and their friends, that causes a massive ripple effect. One of the biggest denominators for the people that I've been involved in is that their breakups and relationships have deteriorated purely because of PMDD, because the other person doesn't understand it or can't come to terms with it or finds it overwhelming or frustrating. Because a lot of the people that are in a ripple effect of the people that's actually dealing with PMDD, all they want to do is support, help, and fix. And unfortunately, PMDD cannot be fixed. There's not a one pill suits all. One solution is going to be, there's not a cookie cutter thing that you can go, right, you've got PMDD, right, we'll just give you this and this and this, and jobs are good in, and we move on to the next one, and we do the same again, and it repeats the process. It doesn't work.
So let me get this straight. In today's day and age, you're supposed to be drinking a ton of water, doing yoga, making sure you and your whole family is happy, strike a good work-life balance, exercise, read books, watch movies, eat healthy meals, be a big part of your community, and get 8 hours of sleep. It's unrealistic. It's too much. Well, that's why there's Instacart to take a little bit off your plate, or help put a little bit on your plate. Oh, I'm so sorry. Using Instacart, you search for all your favorite foods and items that you need from the grocery store, fresh produce, all your favorites, everything you want, and they deliver it to you. They go to the store and do your shopping for you. Just remove it from your to-do list, just with a few clicks. And you'll have your items delivered to your door in as fast as an hour. It's pretty quick. And through the link in the episode description, they're offering free delivery on your first order over $35. But you got to make sure you click the link in the description. That tells Instacart that this show sent you, and it helps support the show. And you can also take advantage of the free delivery. So yeah, be nice to yourself. Give Instacart a shot.
Well, going back to what you were saying about the symptoms, and there's got to be such a heaviness to, there's got to be so many women out there that have PMDD and don't know it, right? Because their doctor has heard one symptom and is trying to just treat that, as opposed to understanding that there's this whole laundry list of things, and so that's got to be so frustrating as well.
I was misdiagnosed, I think it was 6 times.
Oh gosh, what else did they think it was?
So originally, when I went to them, they said that I had postnatal depression. Now, bearing in mind that my eldest daughter is 14 and I was diagnosed with postnatal depression when she was 4. Now, to me, postnatal depression typically happens within the first 2 years, and then it can change into depression. And depression stands for chronic upset distortion of what your thoughts and reality is. But anyway, so they first said that they thought I was depressed. And I'm like, this isn't something that just kind of comes and goes. It's not like I have a few months where I'm great and then a couple of months where I'm not great. This is something that's consistently happening. And at the time, I wasn't registering that it was roundabout when my period was meant to be, because I was on the contraceptive injection. So, side note, my reasoning or my belief that I have PMDD was because I was put on contraceptive injection very young, and I was never given the full guidelines of what the expectation was being on the contraceptive injection. So I was only meant to be on it for the longest period of 4 to 5 years before you're meant to come off it for a good couple of years, get checked for bone density, make sure that you don't have any sort of chemical reactions to the things that's happened, or potentially that you don't have chemical or manufactured infertility, because the chemicals within the depot injection that I was on can actually cause you to become infertile. So I wasn't really aware of when my period or what my cycles were actually doing. So yeah, the depression was the first thing. And then they turned around and said to me that I had potentially had bipolar, or was it PTSD first? I think it was PTSD first, actually, because they tried to say that because they the depression, and I kept going back and saying, they would put me on loads of antidepressants, and the antidepressants weren't working with the true cause. So they were like, oh, it's maybe post-traumatic stress disorder from the fact that when you had your first child, it was really traumatic, and this is your body reacting to it. It's just been delayed. I'm quite military precision with the things that I do. I keep myself busy. I'm on the go all the time. And they've said this is maybe what's happened. And then from there, it was bipolar. And then it was there. They then obviously they went down that route, and they gave me other medication, and that didn't work. And by this point, I'm literally pulling my hair out. I'm like, I'm done with this. This is ridiculous. You guys are just throwing a book at me and going, right, what next? Flick a page, right? Let's just pick one. Right, let's try you with this. So yeah, eventually they went down that I had anxiety and OCD and put me for CBT training. And it was diagnosed that I do have anxiety and OCD, but not to the levels that would justify the behaviors and the patterns that I was trying to tell them that was happening. And then they turn around and says that I might have neurodiversity, but at the time when the stuff was happening, there wasn't really kind of significant tests for adults to be tested. And I believe that I may have ADHD. My eldest daughter has got ADHD, and our traits and our trends and the way that we process things and do things are quite similar. So we went down that route, but they were like, there's nothing we can do. You're not displaying signs that would cause us any cause for concern for your overall health and well-being and your safety. So kind of man up, grow some balls sort of thing. And then they thought with further investigation that I may possibly have some sort of personality disorder in terms of like schizophrenia or paranoid schizophrenia, because I was constantly thinking at the time that this was all my fault and that I was internalizing everything, and everything was, mine to deal with, and the insecurities of everything. And then eventually I went and sought the internet. It's a fabulous thing, and reached out to a few people that had this condition that I'd never heard of called PMDD. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And I reached out to a couple of people. Luckily, in this day and age, we're very fortunate that we have the likes of Facebook and Instagram and things like that. I was able to go and see people and actually message them and just be like, look, I know this is like a total wild card. However, I was wondering if you would be able to discuss with me your condition of PMDD, this, that, and the next thing. I've seen some posts. And literally, I spoke to a couple of ladies and I was like, geez, you are literally talking about my life. You're not talking about yours, you're talking about me. So I started tracking everything within fine detail, the feelings, the thoughts, the processes, when I was feeling like that, why I was feeling like that, what was actually happening with my period and my menstruation cycle. All these things started to kind of making more sense. I then went to the doctor with this book going, this is what I have. It is PMDD. I'm disappointed that it took them, 7 years. 7 years to diagnose me. The full diagnosis was done, the initial diagnosis was done about 6 years ago. But the full diagnosis was done only just in the past couple of years, where they're like, yep, every test and everything that we've done. And a lot of the tests I had to pay privately for, because the doctors can't test you in the way that you need. They don't understand that you need to be blood tested every week at the same time, specifically so they can check the hormone levels changing and then correspond that with the cognitive behavior that's being displayed. They can't check to see if the physical ailments are psychological or if they're actually happening physically. They just don't have that capability. So I was quite fortunate that there was a few things that I could do in order to make sure that I was doing myself a favor and doing myself justice, so I can be like, right, this is it. I don't need to keep going back and asking if they can help find another diagnosis. So
good for you. I mean, holy shit. It was like they were just like throwing I don't exactly want to blame doctors, but it's like there seems to be so much mystery surrounding PMDD, and hopefully conversation
absolutely
will help shed awareness and help people. I mean, because you learned about it on your own through connecting with other people, and there's so much power in hearing common experience from somebody else.
Oh yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think what the medical professions that I was in touch with, I don't think they did anything wrong. I just don't think that the knowledge bank or the research or the support for them is there in order for them to say, I'm not quite sure this sits with me. They literally have 10, 15 minutes with you. You have to spout off as much information as you can. They put in keywords or buzzwords that they've heard that signifies what they think it may be. They type it into a computer. The computer spouts out some information. And they go, right, do you want a prescription?
Yeah.
It's not their fault. It's just the way that the system has been created for convenience in order to make sure that the health system can cope with the influx of people coming through the doors and requiring help and assistance. I don't blame anyone for the fact that I was misdiagnosed, but a lot of people that I've spoken to subsequently, they've been on the same journey where they've been misdiagnosed a few times and they've had to go away and research it themselves and then go back to their doctor and say, look, have you heard about this? And 9 times out of 10, they've never heard of it. And they have to go and do research.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And just the anxiety of like questioning your own mind and what's wrong with me, quote unquote. There's just such a heaviness to, as you were saying before, it's nice to know, okay, if this, then that, right? If I have this, I do this and I'm better. But if you're just living in this constant state of trying to figure it out, it can be daunting. I can only
Chaos.
imagine.
It's absolute chaos.
Oh,
you
man.
know.
Well, you shared a little bit about how PMDD has affected your life. I'm wondering, did it ever cause you to miss out on things or have relationships go sour? Or it sounds like you're in a good relationship now, but
I'm laughing. I'm divorced.
Oh, okay.
I'm in a really great relationship, and unfortunately it was the demise of my relationship. I don't think that it was solely because of it. I think there was a lot of other kind of little bits that kind of attributed to it. However, it didn't help. It certainly didn't help. And my new partner, geez Louise, he is a trooper. Like literally, he was dragged through World War III and stood headstrong like an army boy, being like, no, I will not be defined by the bullshit that is this. You need to stop that, and I can say that I can say this with lightheartedness because I lived through it. So it's my experience, and I understand there's people out there that are probably in a really dark place a lot of the time because of this, but my lightheartedness, I think, is what keeps me going. In our house, we have trigger words or trigger things that happen. So everyone in this house is forewarned. Guys, my period is due in a week. It's your week's notice. You guys need to take cover. And we kind of have, oh yeah, oh God, mum's going to be like a psycho, blah, blah, blah. So they're well prepared and well versed. I mean, even my 2.5-year-old is very aware that my intuition and my energies within this house is quite strong. So if I don't feel great, everyone doesn't feel great. So my 2.5-year-old is very aware that if mum has not got a good headspace, he just comes and gives me cuddles. And he's a great source of relief. And my middle child, she's really funny because she's just like, Mummy, you need to stop these key things. My eldest, she just kind of says to me, Mum, enough. So there's trigger words that the kids will use, and they only tend to use it when I'm at that point of I've lost my mind sort of thing. And I know that that's quite funny to think of that, or quite serious depending on where you're at. But my other half, his trigger word says, are you done? But he doesn't just go like, are you done? He comes up, he holds me, he looks me straight in the eyes and smiles with the biggest smile and will continue to say, are you done? Are you done? And I will literally be the camel, the whatever the thing, the hump that broke the camel's back, whatever the
straw that broke the camel's back.
Yes, for my doctor was, I went in just before we were finally getting diagnosed, and she was like, how are you? I was like, I'm in PMDD. I was like, literally, I could get the rustiest spoon I could find, and I could quite happily gouge my man-child's eyeballs out. I was like, this is serious. I've no idea why it needs to be a rusty spoon, but that's my thought process, So my other half, he literally, with the biggest smile, he'll just hold on to me, and I can be losing my marbles, like really becoming impatient and being quite abusive in the language that I use. And they recognize it's not me, it's whatever's going on. And I can recognize now that, like, I almost have like a disconnect. Like I can step back and be like, what is this woman doing? She needs to shut the hell up. But I physically can't stop the words coming out my own mouth. I'm like, oh my God, shush, just shush. That is disgusting. You do not need to be, shut up. And like I physically can't stop myself. But my other half will come up and he will just hold me, smile, and it doesn't matter if I'm even like spitting venom in his face. He would just stand there headstrong and be like, are you done? To the point that it's like, okay, now I have to laugh because you've actually taken everything out of me and all I have left is laughter. And as soon as I laugh, we hug, and then he lets me go and he's like, are you done? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Like to have that sort of support and have that sort of rock. No, not a lot of women get that, because a lot of people don't understand that it's not, he took years and years to figure out this trigger and to figure out this process. He went through frustrations and hurt and upset and feeling worthless himself because he's like, I just want to help you and I can't help you. And it's happening every month. And it's frustrating me because I can't give you the solution, or I can't give you the advice, or I can't give you the comfort that you need. Like I say, it's PMDD isn't just a real nasty thing for women to deal with, but it's a ripple effect for everyone that they're associated with. I think that's the key objective that everyone needs to recognize. It's not just, yeah, that problem is for women solely, but for women's family, friends, people that they are included in. If a woman decides one day that she's just not going to go out for a meal, it's not necessarily because she's just not going out for a meal, it's because her PMDD is hit and she doesn't want to be associated with you, and she just wants to recoil into her bed for 2-3 days until she feels better.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of being like, oh, she's such a bitch, she's so lazy, ask the question.
Yeah.
Look who we got here. It's our friends at My Software Tutor. Can Excel be my friend? Many people have wondered this for years. The answer is yes, it can. Excel doesn't have to be like the friend that your mom makes you hang out with in elementary school. It's weird. It's always stuff with boogers, right? What's wrong? What's up? Why is that kid always eating boogers? Their house always had the best snacks too. And there he is. Boogers. Well, Excel doesn't have to be like that weird kid. Unless you were that weird kid. Were you? Be honest. You know. I'm not actually asking. I can't hear your response, but you know. And it's okay if you were. Just take it easy with the boogers. Just talking about boogers to our good ad read. Don't worry. They didn't write that part. That was an improvisation. My Software Tutor offers 3 levels of real-time Zoom-based courses with a live instructor. They deliver practical, functional business skills in a friendly and supportive environment. It can be daunting, right? You need that supporting environment to learn Excel. There's no stupid questions. It could be really difficult. And as we know, when we talk about it on this podcast all the time, it could be really daunting to learn something new and put yourself out there. So think of this as like a kindergarten for learning something new and helping your job prospects. Or be better at the job you already have. Get that raise, get that whatever, take pictures of it for Instagram. Yeah, that'll be cool. Keeping it as vague as possible so that you can input your own. Just making a mad lib of your own desires. These courses will increase your marketability, whether you're an employee, job seeker, consultant, or contractor. Register at mysoftwaretutor.com and use the promo code POD20 to save 20% off all registrations. Thank you so much to My Software Tutor. Yeah, guys, take advantage of that 20% off and confidently list Excel on your resume.
Well, it sounds like you've got a lovely man there. Where'd you meet him?
I actually went to college with him.
Oh, nice.
I'm in my corporate world days. I actually trained as a mechanical engineer, so I have a degree in mechanical engineering, and we were best friends at college. And then he went his way and did whatever he did. I went my way and did whatever I did, and then just a pure chance collaboration, we met back up again, and from there it was, I want to say it was my fairy tale ending. I mean, fairy tale ending as much as Scottish fairy tale endings goes. There's kicks up the arses, profuse swearing, and some shouting several times. But I wouldn't want it any other way. I say to him quite often, I'm like, I honestly don't know where I would be without you, and the fact that you put up with the shower of shite that I have to offer you 1 week out of the month. And he's like, you know what? He's like, it's what it is. But there's people out there that's not like that. I really do feel for them. And I think that's the reason why I got into more so what it is that I do, because I'm like, you know what? I always say to people, I want to leave people better than I found them. But in the same respect, I am here for you. If you come into my world, regardless of what degree you come into my world, I always say to people, I'm always here for you, no matter what. If you need anything, you just holler. And I always say to people, if you're having difficulties, never text me the word or message me the word help, because you won't be able to, because help is the hardest word to ask for. But I always say the word hello, because I will know that you need my help.
Right. Absolutely.
So.
Well, I do want to talk about your work with other people, but what has worked for you in terms of helping you with PMDD on top of your family and support system? Is there anything that you've done? Is it like exercise or whatever it may be?
Everything. So I am making sure that I eat as well as I can. I'm not au fait and like, oh my God, I eat organic food. I live in the real world where I have to go to the corner shops to grab whatever I need to do. Or I'm not the sort of person that's like, oh, well, I'm only going to eat green food, or I'm only going to, no. I have 3 kids. If I'm not cooking 5 different meals within a night, you can guarantee you the kids aren't at home, because that's the only time that I'm not. So I live in the real world, but I do try and be conscious about what it is that I eat and what I fuel my body with. I do work out. I work out and I do boot camp classes as well, just to make sure that as much as I'm keeping people accountable, people are keeping me accountable just as much. And I went down the medication route. I went down SSRIs and antidepressants, and they don't work for me. I don't like the thought and the feeling of masking it. I went down medical route with being on the contraceptive injection for years, and that rocked my world. So there's no way, if I can possibly avoid medical intervention in the professional matter at all costs, I will. I consume quite a lot of supplement, but I swear they're the things that have helped kind of keep me more stable. They don't cure it by all means. Like I say, there's some months I can be fine, and I can say to everyone, look, I'm gonna week's notice, here's your warning, sort of thing, and nothing happens, and they're like, have you had your period already, or were you late because you've not been like an arsehole? And I'm like, no, it's gone. And then other times I'm like, I can be fine, and then something will happen and there'll be that trigger, and that's me, like it's switched on just that quick, and I'm like, ah! And they're like, holy crap, there's the werewolf, hi. Supplementation for me has been a big factor. I take magnesium every day. It's like the 7th most common mineral in the world, but it's like one of the most common one that we're deficient in, for men and for women. So magnesium was always going to be a key player. It's a great thing for serotonin. It's a great thing for leveling out my hormones and my chemicals. I also take fish oil caps because it helps kind of keep my brain function and my cognitive function really kind of clear and crisp. So when the brain fog does come, I can kind of get over the worst of it. I can still be functioning, but it's not a case of like, right, I may as well just go back to bed because I can't even like go to the toilet without needing assistance, sort of thing. I also take glucosamine, glutamine, a good really kind of all-round multivitamin, and I also take evening primrose, because evening primrose is an absolutely fantastic supplement for women to take when it comes to helping aid the hormonal and emotional balance that goes on inside. When it comes to round about my period time or my ovulation time, depending on when it kicks, because it's been funny, like I'd said before, my periods haven't been as bad, but my ovulation tends to kind of kick off sort of my kind of real irrational thoughts and processes at the moment. So I take something called 5-HTP, which is a natural version to help level out your serotonin, help level out your hormones, and try and keep you on a more level keel. It helps with your cognitive behaviors as well. So it tries to lift that brain fog, for me, it's almost like it gives me back that control. And I don't take it all the time. I take it. Like there's key things that start happening, like the symptoms. I'm like, I don't feel that great, or feeling really sluggish, and I shouldn't be around about this time. So those are like keys for me to be like, okay, there's maybe the chance that this could happen. So I'll take the 5-HTP as an additional for a couple of days, just to kind of tide me over for if it does come or if it doesn't come. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's all great advice. And I'm sure a lot of trial and error went into all of that. So I'm glad that you've identified things that can help you out a bit. So let's talk about how did you put it, frequency work that you do with people?
Yeah. So obviously we touched upon this before. One of the key things that I do for myself, which I truly believe has helped ultimately me to have control of PMDD, is altering my frequency state. So I put it in layman's terms so people can understand this. Frequencies in their simplest form. There's 2 kind of ways I explain it. One of them is using a car. So you go in a car lot, you have got 1,000 cars, same make, same model, same spec, same color, same attributes in terms of tires, whatever. They're exactly the same freaking vehicle, right? You go out, you push the button, you got a key, you push the button, it will only open up one of those cars. It will not open any other cars. What's actually happening is your frequency is connecting, a resonance effect. That's what it's classed as, a resonance effect. Now, we have a resonance effect inside us. We have thousands of different frequencies. And to put that into a place where you can understand, I will say to you right now, and I guarantee you, once it happens, you'll be like, yep. So think of your favorite song and think of the words. Think of what it is that you do every single time you hear that favorite song of yours, the beat, the rhythm, the memories that's attached with that. You've instantly changed your face. Your face is all lit up because you've constantly thought, oh my God, that's amazing. Like,
I was feeling a little of like the ASMR, like in the back of my head, thinking about it.
Do you know what I mean? Like you get those good vibe feelings. What you've just done is you've increased your frequencies, you've changed your energy. But in the same respect, if somebody was to phone you up and say, oh God, heavens forbid, somebody felt ill that was really close to you in your family, or somebody, put it into context, somebody had contracted COVID and you were part of the track and trace, you would instantly drop back down and that frequency would change. You know, that is your frequency. That's not, I teach people that thoughts and feelings aren't real. They're only a perception of your reality in that moment. It's a big thing for people to actually understand that, but it's true. Yeah.
It's mind-blowing. Yeah. Once you fully digest that thought. Yeah.
Because your thoughts and feelings are real in as much as you do feel sad, or you do feel happy, or you do feel excited, or you do feel sorrow. And your thoughts are, oh, I feel good, I feel bad. But they're only in that very moment of that reality of what you're living. You know, like I told you that song, you felt good, you felt happy. You were like, yeah, I remember the things that attached to that song. And then, oh my God, track and trace of COVID, that would be awful. I would feel absolutely disgusted. And oh my God, I would have to phone and I would have to, and I would, your thoughts and feelings aren't real. They're just a perception of your reality right now. And what I can do is I can scan your full body and find out if there's conflict or disruption that's particularly causing chronic effect, whether it's mentally, emotionally, nutritionally, physically, or hormonally. So for an example, I have a client that has MS. They've been diagnosed for over 10 years and they've been on pain medication for that time. And their pain medication has increased year on year because the pain medication they were on no longer works and no longer gives them the same relief as they were once able to deal with. I came in and we worked on the nerve because it was coming from the nerve meridian, which is your energies. And we worked on doing frequency sessions on your nerve meridians. And what happened was the transformation. It didn't cure. I'm not a doctor. I don't claim to be a medical profession in any capacity. I'm not here to fix somebody. What I do is help realign people. Like I'd said offline, my mission is to help people recognize, resolve, and realign. So if I can help you recognize potentially what the problem is, help you resolve what the issue is, and then realign you to have a better or a best life of what you've had, then so be it. So this gentleman I have that had MS, he no longer takes medication because he has frequency sessions with me regularly. For me, that screams volumes. You know, a lot of the time, people work with me virtually because they need a pick-me-up. I can't work with all conditions virtually, but when it comes to the virtual side of things, I can give you what's like an immune boost. If you're feeling blocked mentally and you know you're trying to grow your business and you're trying to expand and you just find that everything's become really difficult and sticky, like you're stuck in mud and you're just not getting the way you want to go forward, I can come in and we can run a virtual scan on you. We can find out what's really kind of going on. We can do a session on you and we can discuss things in a coaching capacity while the session runs in the background. And I can almost guarantee within 3 days, you're like, shit, I woke up and I realized that this was happening and this was happening and this was happening. And I managed to eradicate that and stop this and realign that thought process. And I know exactly where I need to be and I know how I need to move forward. The same thing happens for me when it comes to my PMDD. So I go through a process of looking at my hormones and finding out what ones are really causing an effect that potentially could be detrimental to me. And then I run a frequency session on myself in order to make sure that I am running. I say like we run like because I'm a mechanic, we run finely tuned sports cars with the best of the best. We don't run it with just cheap red diesel. We run it with high octane petrol. We don't go and put cheap, nasty, weighted oil in it. We put pure synthetic class A oil in it. We don't put the cheap, nasty tires that are budget coated stuff. We put on Michelin star bad boys that can literally take us to the sky. All these things that we do with a car, I can do with the frequencies. Because I say to people, without kind of putting thought process in there, when you have a vehicle, when you own a car, you either in the UK have to get it MOT'd every year, or you have to get it serviced, you have to do maintenance on it, you have to look after it to some degree in order to get it from A to B. Well, why aren't you doing that with your own body?
Yeah.
Why aren't you taking your body and your one lifestyle that you get, because you only get one option, one life to live the things you want to do. Why not make sure you're living it at your best? You know? And that's what I do with frequencies. We go that deep with people because that's what we need. We need to be able to recognize that all this energy and external environments and noise and advice and social media dictating and peers, they don't necessarily align with us, but we're so dumb from not listening to ourselves and listening to the external noise that we feel that this is the right path for us. If we just stopped and realigned the frequencies to what it is that we want and how we see ourselves, could you imagine what life would be like?
Utopia.
Could you imagine what everyone would be like?
Yeah. You know? So much of conflict in the world comes from I would assume, internal conflict presenting itself externally. Well, this sounds absolutely incredible. I'm curious, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, or if it's not the way it works. I'm just curious what a frequency session kind of looks like. So if you could give me like a little bit, but I understand if it doesn't work in this setting.
No. I mean, I am the most honest person that you'll probably meet. What you see here and at the moment is exactly this. If you came to see me in person, it would be exactly the same
Mm-hmm.
chaos that I have. But I always believe that people need baby steps, because to be the best, you have to invest in you. But the problem is we never want to invest in ourselves because we have been programmed that it's classed as selfish, or programmed that we should be able to figure out what our own problems and our own shit is without external people coming in and helping. So I understand that people need to learn that know, like, and trust. So I always say to people, you don't have to jump in with both feet. The first thing that I offer is what's classed as a lifestyle MOT. You come into my world, we do a full body scan on you. We find out exactly what is and isn't kind of happening, what we can work on, what we can't work on. If we can work on some things that you feel are really, really significant and you align with and resonate with in that session, then we try and do that. But sometimes it may require kind of online coaching and a continuous program where we're doing talking, and I work with intuition as well. So a lot of the times I kind of dive deep on the things that you may not have told anyone. I talk to your soul, basically. I give your soul a big hug and say, you know what, it's okay, come with me. I know exactly where you need to be, and I know what you need to do in order to be your best version. Whether that's within a 60-minute session, or whether it's 12, 14, 6 months, 2 years coaching program, will depend on what it is that you do. But the lifestyle MOT sessions, they start from £97, and they typically run about 60 minutes, and they're recorded. So the conversations that we have, you can take away and watch again and again and again. And you'll see, even within those recordings, I've not had one recording yet where you watch it back, where you see that epiphany and people being like, oh my God, you're so right. Why did I not think of that? Why did I not register that isn't the problem? This is the problem. So
what a gift. What a gift to give people. Oh my gosh. That sounds awesome. I mean,
do you know what? I'm here to help.
All right, you've got an event coming up. You know you got to send a card. So you get the card. It's looking good. You know, you chose a good one. You grab a pen. You grab a beverage of some kind. Alcoholic, ginger ale. I've been big on the ginger ale lately. Even the diet. Am I just old? Maybe I'm just old. But you get all that. You sit down, and then your mind is blank. You don't know what to say. It can be daunting. There's a lot of pressure. You gotta fit it in a certain area, and gotta look nice. Go easy on yourself. There's someone here to help you. Introducing the Cardist Studio. With so many birthdays and occasions, there's no time to shop for cards, write the cards, and buy the stamps. It's too many steps. So many chances for anxiety. Now you can do it all right where you sit. That's the best. That's the best. Because the Cardist Studio does it for you. They write it down for you. Introducing a writing specialist for the message inside your greeting cards. Don't get those canned responses. have someone write something truly heartfelt. By the way, this is my friend Mary Alice who runs this company. She's very good. She sent me one of these. Whew. I know I said that in a joking tone, but I mean it. It was very thoughtful. She sent me one after my grandfather passed away. It means a lot. I still have the card. I mean, that shows you all you need to know. All right, here's how it works. All you do is pick the card and tell why you're sending it. No more errands. No more anxiety. For a message from your heart, but not your hands. It's okay. You still mean it. Sit back and just enjoy your relationships. Wouldn't that be nice? TheCardistStudio.com. Thoughtful, just got easy. And you can use the promo code AnxietyPod for 10% off all orders. All right, friends, get out there and send those greeting cards from the Cardist Studio.
It took a long time to realize that what I needed to do in order for me to feel better was to help other people, because I had been knocked a lot. People didn't want to help me, and I struggled to really ask for the word help. And through experiences and traumas and things that I've had to overcome myself, I don't want anyone to feel like that. I don't want anyone to feel that they don't have something in place. Ultimately, I don't want anyone to feel that they can't trust me, and that's why my value is the word trust, to be able to be there for you to be able to trust yourself and your decisions, and to trust me to show you what the process is in order for you to be your best version and to create what is your desire, what it is that you really want going forward.
I love that. I love that so much. And yeah, I feel like I'm similar in that, I've battled anxiety and depression and this and that, and that understanding and combined with my, I'm a journalist by trade. That's my day job. And so trying to use that skill and that understanding to make a podcast about anxiety. So I understand that suffering leads towards, it's so helpful to push it outwards, right? To try to help other people, because we know what it can be like, and when you're really low, and how much that sucks.
Oh, absolutely. I think that in life, there's a certain amount of people that have been through so much, whether they've taken it on the chin, whether they've hit rock bottom, whether they're not quite there yet, but they're getting there. These are the people that ultimately will be the biggest givers. And I was asked a question the other day. They basically turned around and said, to live is to give. And I was like, well, I don't agree with that. To me, you need to ask. You need to ask a who to help you with your how. And we need to learn more about asking for who. If we stopped asking, if we just gave to everyone, how do you know that that's necessarily reciprocated in the best way? Yes, I believe I do random acts of kindness all the time, but I give to forget. I don't give to receive something back. I give to forget and I receive to remember. But I always ask, because how is anybody going to want or need the things that I can help them with if I don't ask? How can I be anyone's who without asking, do you need me or do I need you?
And it's okay to say yes, right? Like it's okay.
Absolutely.
We feel like we're not deserving of things like that, and it's bullshit.
Yeah, well, that's why I went back to, I'm like, to be the best, you need to invest in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't invest in yourself, how are you ever going to expect anyone else to do the same?
Right. You can't. Well, is there anything you think I'm missing related to PMDD or the frequency training that you do, or anything you'd like to mention?
No, not at all. I'd love their conversation. If anyone does think they have PMDD that's listening to this, I am here for you. Mm-hmm. Regardless if it's a conversation, regardless if it's a text message, whatever it is, I am here, because I would hate to think that somebody is related to the feelings and the thoughts and the processes and the symptoms and the month that keep happening, and they've been misdiagnosed. I am here for you all. The second thing I would say is never give up. Mm-hmm. Listen to yourself, not your head, not your heart, but your gut. That's one of the key fundamental things that I teach people. I'm like, you have to stop listening to your head, because your head is cognitive. It is learned through logical processing. It is learned through repeated processes. Your heart is emotionally tied. So whether or not you're in a good place or a bad place will dictate whether or not you feel good or don't feel good about something. But your solar plexus, it's impartial. It doesn't care if it's right or wrong. It doesn't care if it's up or down, in or out. It's non-biased. But your solar plexus will tell you exactly what it is you need to do. You need to know, you need to do. That feeling of excitement when you've got somebody coming around that you really like or you're keen on, that adrenaline, that butterflies, that's your solar plexus saying, they're coming soon. This is good. That feeling of, oh my God, I need to stop talking because that person that I'm having an argument with is getting really, really aggressive and actually abusive, and they could actually hit me, and I'm not really sure if I'm ready for that. That feeling in there, that's your solar plexus saying, this isn't a good situation. If we listen to our solar plexus, if it doesn't feel good, push for another diagnosis, push for somebody else to tell you that let's do other tests or let's look down different routes. In terms of me, come and see me if you need a lifestyle MOT. I can guarantee it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of emotions and there's often quite a lot of tears. But by the end of it, you'll walk away being like, wow, I know me more than I ever knew me before.
I mean, and that's what we're all searching for, right? To understand ourselves and to give a vote to other people. Sarah has such a warm, inviting presence that I think a lot of people would benefit from. So definitely have my stamp of approval. Well, how can people reach out to you? I'm sorry, I stepped on what you were saying there, but I wanted to make sure before I forgot that I wanted to make sure people knew how they can get a hold of you.
So I have a website where everything is located in one easy place. So it's www.k3fitnessuk.com. I am also on Facebook as Sarah Malone, or you will find me on my business page, which is K3 Fitness UK, or I am on Instagram as well. But on Instagram, I am on K3UK_LTD. It's a little bit different, but if you go on Instagram, you'll see the reason why it's so different.
All right. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. It's been an absolute joy speaking to you, and thank you for everything that you do.
I appreciate you, Pat, for allowing me the space to be heard and be seen and be able to talk about something that is otherwise a bit of a taboo subject. I think the more we talk about it, the more we open up about it, and the more we actually show our vulnerability, I think the more that people will be aware of this isn't something that's just a passing phase, and it is quite a debilitating condition that we need to stand up and actually recognize needs a bit more support.
Absolutely. Yeah. Suffering in silence is, it's the worst. My gosh.
Man, I like I said, I'd never really heard of PMDD, but it sounds terrible. Just like the not knowing what you have and the symptoms varying, and geez, like the effects on your relationships and work, and just having to go through your day feeling like crap all the time, or once a month, I guess, or longer than that. Oh my gosh. So yeah, if you feel like you connected in some way with Sarah's story, definitely ask her a question. She's more than open to helping other people not go through what she went through, which is such a beautiful thing. So thank you so much to Sarah. I learned a ton from that interview. I want to remind you about my other podcast called Death Space Filling the Void. It's a podcast about death, dying, humanity, psychology, the deep stuff, really diving in there. But that stuff is kind of fun to talk about. Wanted to also remind you of the Buy Me a Coffee link. If you're liking the show and you want to see it continue, feel free to click that link and donate whatever amount you feel comfortable with. That would be greatly appreciated. Then there's Instacart with the link in the description. You click that link and sign up. That tells them that this show sent you, which also helps support the show. Then there's My Software Tutor with the promo code POD20 for 20% off if you want to learn a program or get a little bit better at Excel. I mean, who couldn't use a touch-up in programs like that? Yep, like I said, you'll get 20% off. And the Carta Studio with the promo code AnxietyPod, which will give you 10% off. And of course, I'll also include websites where you can reach Sarah and get some more information. So yeah. So thank you much. So thank you much, Sarah. Thank you to everyone listening. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you on Thursday.